Well, here it is, the first consumer version of the Oculus Rift. This is it, Bajo, the brave new world of VR.
It's exciting, isn't it? You know, after seeing a whole bunch of VR at E3, I'm just so keen to put this through its paces.
Yeah, and what better way to do that than to test out two of the most high-profile and meaty VR experiences available at the moment. The chilly survival horror of Edge of Nowhere, and the RPG about getting older, Chronos. And Bajo, neither of these games are in first person, which I found really surprising.
Let's start with Chronos.
Come, sit. Listen all. Listen well. Tonight I speak to you the tale. Tale of the Scouring.
The world in Chronos is an interesting blend of contemporary and fantasy, where an apocalyptic event known as the Scouring unleashed beasts and a dragon from another world, which wiped out modern society.
But once a year, a great stone in some rundown facility lets you enter into the other worlds. So your tribe sends you off as a young adventurer to go there and slay the dragon.
This is very much a Dark Souls light experience. My first Dark Souls.
Oh.
There's a similar sword and board style combat, big bosses, bonfire-esque save points, Estus flask style health, interconnecting dungeons, and also just like Souls, dying is central to the experience. Your health potions are very limited and they don't regenerate until you die, and with plenty of tough enemies in your way, death is always coming for you.
Yeah, but it isn't quite as hard or as intimidating as Souls, though, thanks to a few difficulty options. It's a bit more in the vein of Zelda, I guess, with satisfying dungeon crawling and puzzle solving. But you will die, and since the Great Stone is only active once a year, every time you do, you'll respawn a whole year older.
And your age affects how you can level up your character. So when you're young, strength and agility points are cheap, while arcane points are expensive. But as you hit 40, that flips around, and once you get to 60, you simply can't level up strength and agility at all. And every decade you hit, you'll be given a choice of perks. I love this concept, Hex.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, and it certainly puts more pressure on you to make each life count and plan out your build carefully. I just wish there was a little bit more going on with the arcane powers though, like some actual magic and spellcasting. All you really get are a few different stones which power up your counterattacks and charge up after a while to let you unleash a flurry of powerful attacks.
I was looking forward to becoming a wizened old spell-slinging wizard, but alas, I finished this game at around age 70, and I do wonder if you can actually die of old age, like at 100. I quite liked that fixed camera view. It reminded me of an old Resident Evil game.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about it. You're kind of standing there in the room like a bystander looking left to right. It's different. I guess it's just not what I initially thought VR would be, this third-person view. But anyway, what did you think of the game overall?
I really had a good time with this. You know, it's only 10 hours, which is a bit short for RPGs generally, but I think it's perfect for VR RPGs. So I'm giving it 4 stars.
Yeah, it hit a lot of the right notes, didn't it? And I think it's a satisfying and deep RPG experience, so I'm giving it 4 as well.
Now it's off to the frozen wastes in Edge of Nowhere.
Edge of Nowhere comes to us from the folks at Insomniac Games, who've made games like Ratchet & Clank and Sunset Overdrive.
It's the 1930s and the heyday of expeditions.
Oh, you all right there, Victor?
Fine, thank you.
You play as Victor, a man who is going after his fiancée whose expedition to the Antarctic has gone all pear-shaped.
Simon Edwards is heading up the expedition, right? He's a hell of a man.
Well, he used to be.
And it's not long until you find out why that is after you stumble across some less than friendly local wildlife and you start to lose your mind.
You cannot fall back into this, Victor. Open the door.
Stay the hell away from me, Edwards!
And by wildlife, we mean creepy alien-type things that range from balls that explode spears out at you, head crabs, Halo's flood, and a few hints of Cthulhu.
This is mostly a mix of the sort of ice pick climbing and jumping we saw in the recent Tomb Raider games. You can't help but look down when you're up so high, precariously perched on an ice wall, with some survival horror sprinkled in for good measure. You do find a shotgun, but you can only ever hold a handful of shells, so it really is only a last resort.
Gonna shoot the bubbles, gonna shoot the bubbles. Bam. Nope, we're running. You get a slice of it. Run! But you can get through most areas just by sneaking, since most enemies can't see you. And they will quickly go investigate any sounds, so throwing rocks to kite enemies out of the way or into traps is the name of the game.
You can only ever have 2 rocks in your pocket at one time, though, so you have to be crafty about how you use them. You are in caves a lot, though, so you usually find more rocks lying around. And it's always satisfying when you manage to lure a bunch of enemies into one trap.
If things do go wrong, you can always try and fight them off with your shotty or swing your pickaxe, but most enemies will insta-kill you. So fighting is rarely a good idea. Other than that, your only other option is just to run for it. I'm okay. Surely they can't jump. Dun, 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 dun. I really liked how you use your head to look for where you want to aim your shotgun. I thought that was awesome. It's kind of like using the Wii U's gamepad to aim, you know, with the gyro thing, but fun.
Yeah, it's quite intuitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's some tried and true adventuring and survival horror mechanics with a lot of polish. This is a fairly short game. You can get through it in about 3 hours, but I don't know, that felt like a good length to me.
Yeah, I didn't mind the length either, but we should point out that this isn't a cheap game. You certainly pay a premium for this kind of VR experience. There is a solid story though, and watching Victor slowly lose his mind to try and find his fiancée in this desperate environment leads to some great moments.
Fascinating.
I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
It's a 4 from me. All right, well, let's just quickly talk a little bit more broadly about the headset itself and the use of VR in these games. So, what are your impressions?
Well, there's a lot to like here. I like that it's all black. I feel like I'm wearing Batman's VR gear, but also it's quite light and it's reasonably comfortable to wear. Although I did find after long sessions, it really started to pinch right here on my forehead, like it kind of pushed down.
Well, one thing that's a plus for me is how simple it all seemed to set up. There's no power supply needed, you just plug a few cables into the PC, put the camera down, run some setup software, and you're good to go.
Yeah, it's pretty painless. It's a shame none of those fancy motion controllers are available yet though. You just have to use a standard Xbox controller, which kind of means that gameplay-wise, there isn't anything in either of those games that needs VR.
Yeah, you could play both of those games just as easily on a standard monitor.
Yeah, even so, I was really impressed with how much VR added to a third-person game like this.
It does feel massive in here. Yeah, there is that sense of being there and feeling the scale and grandeur of the locations. It certainly adds something special to the experience. Long way down. I suddenly got very cold.
Jump! Ooh, oh, okay, that's something new, getting the vertigo when you look down.
I just feel like these experiences would have been more impactful if they'd been in VR in first person. That's weird, face to face with myself. Hi there.
This certainly would have been more impactful for me because I'd be vomiting everywhere because I get so sick in first person. I don't know, I still think it added to the experience. You know, I felt like I've been in these worlds. I can certainly get a sense of scale by being able to look up at these mountains that I'm walking through. Like, it's so different being behind the character. But it is kind of like I'm another person there watching him. We have seen these kinds of games before, but the VR implementation did make it feel fresh and exciting. And the fixed cameras in Chronos meant there was zero motion sickness for me, even after playing hours on end. Oh, it's not going well. But that moving camera in Edge of Nowhere meant I did have to take a break every now and then.
Yeah, I didn't have any motion sickness in either game, although I suppose that has a lot to do with having the character there to focus on. Which way do I go now? Oh, up. Of course, where there are spikies ahead. Don't kill me. Plus, you can tell they've worked a lot on designing everything to help minimize that nausea, from little things like how rooms are spaced out to how fast you can move and how smooth the camera movements are.
There's definitely an art to making a comfortable VR experience, and we're in very early days, so this will continue to evolve. I was really curious about the final version of this for the resolution aspect, because with the earlier versions we played of the Rift, you could see that fly screen effect now and then, and it pulls you out of the moment. I still got that with this, not as much, but I think it's still there.
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. I guess because the dev kit version was so rough and everyone was like, well, this is just the dev kit, you know, the final release is going to be so much better.
Yeah.
You know, I was expecting it to be amazing, and it's certainly much better, but it's just not great. Maybe I set my expectations too high, I don't know. Oh, what was that? Now, we should also mention that both of these games were initially going to be Oculus Rift exclusives, which means in theory they would only work on the Oculus Rift headset, not any of the rival competitor ones like the HTC Vive.
And naturally, the internet was not happy about that.
No.
When you go out and spend a lot of money on these quite expensive kits, and then there's exclusive content locked, it's not good.
Yeah.
But to Oculus's credit, they have recently backtracked on blocking software that would let other headsets play their exclusive games. Nice pants. So using the right tools, any headset should be able to run these games, so it's a bit of a non-issue now.
Yeah, and Oculus are clearly trying to fund some of the more fleshed out VR experiences, so by opening up their software, really, everybody wins.
I look forward to the first game where I can build my own hideous character in VR. That'll be fun, and then like walk around with other people